sell. I was skydiving back then. I had a parachute. It was worth probably about $5,000. I ended up selling it for $3,000 to be able to get enough money to be able to put a driveway in. So that was probably, that was one of the toughest moments of starting property investing.
This is Property Investory, where we talk to successful property investors to find out more about their stories, mindset, and strategies. I'm Tyron Shump, and in this episode, we speak with Daniel Walsh, buyer's agent by day, train driver by night. While many young adults spend every cent they earn, Walsh spent his formative years saving for his first deposit, whilst overcoming several speed humps along the way. Follow his journey and be inspired by his drive and determination. For Walsh, he was inspired from a young age in property investing that gave him the drive and determination to start investing just before the global financial crisis. He tells us a bit about a typical day in his busy life.
I started off as a train driver, been driving trains for about 7 years. Pretty much from there, I started my own business as a buyer's agent. So I do that during the day and I work at night. My days pretty much consist of just working, really. I work 18-hour days. Every day is different for me because I drive trains. It's a roster, so my roster changes. So I don't really have a set day like what I do. But during the day, I pretty much every day try to get to the gym for at least an hour. I go out, I do my property investing during the day mainly, and I work at night. So I drive trains all night, work during the day, try and get to the gym for at least 1 hour, and I get about 4 to 5 hours sleep each day. I have no kids. It's my time to sort of work work as hard as I can. So for me, I work 18-hour days. I even go to the point where I set my alarm clock. So I might want to sleep more than 4 or 5 hours, but I set my alarm clock to make sure that I get up after 4 or 5 hours, because I know that I don't have enough time during the day to be able to get everything done. So I have to be able to sleep less, work more. As soon as I started driving trains, I started working on the side. I actually started doing courses in real estate. I did my certificate 4, my buyer's agency. So I was doing that all while working full time, and I was generally driving trains anywhere from 50 to 80 hours a week.
If you've ever wondered what it'd be like to drive a train, Walsh says it's no simple task. With training and practice, it can take years to become a qualified train driver.
It's completely different. I mean, it's very hard to sort of predict hills, like with a car, when you're going uphill, when you're going downhill. It took me about 6 months to work out whether I was going up or downhill. So it's a bit different. It's, we don't have a steering wheel, so we're not like a car. We're pretty much we've got 3 different brakes. We've got power. So it's totally different to driving a car. It takes usually about 2 to 3 years to get the hang of driving before you become a driver. So there's a lot of sort of background into learning all the safe working and just learning. You basically got to forecast what's happening a kilometre or 2 kilometres ahead, because these trains take 2 kilometres, 3 kilometres sometimes to pull up.
Gosh, I admire what you do, because it's not easy. Seriously, I mean, it's a lot of focus.
Yeah, especially
and
at night when it's about 3 or 4 in the morning and it's quiet, and your body's telling you to go to sleep, but you've got to stay awake for another 5 hours.
With such a busy schedule, Walsh always makes the most of his valuable time in order to help others to invest in property.
Generally don't have all day, so like where most people would be sleeping, they'll work all day and then sleep all night. I do the opposite, so for me, I work all night and then I work all day, and I get about 3 or 4 hours sleep in between, and I literally do that for a whole week, and then I'll get maybe one good sleep of around 8 to 10 hours and reset pretty much every single week. So I pretty much just make sure that I free up my time where I should probably be sleeping more, and make sure I put that into property investing and helping others.
Growing up, he was determined to be in a trade that he could fall back on. However, after working with his father for 4 years as an auto electrician, he decided to change careers. The underlying goal was to save enough money for a deposit for his first property by the time he turned 19.
I grew up in Camden, southwest of Sydney. And I pretty much grew up there for, all of my primary school years. And then when I got into high school, we moved out towards Picton onto Acres. So I was into all the, typical dirt bikes and stuff like that. So after high school, we still lived out at Picton, but I only went to year 10. So I dropped out in year 10. I was 16 years old. I needed a job. So I pretty much went and worked with everyone. I was doing electrician for a while. I did carpentry, plumbing. And then I didn't have a license, so I couldn't really go forward with any of those apprenticeships. So I ended up working for my father, and I did a 4-year apprenticeship and worked with him for about 4.5 years as an auto electrician. My father has done it for over 30 years, so I've seen it a lot. I've seen, that sort of industry and what it was about. My dad never wanted me to be an auto electrician. He wanted me to be a plumber or a carpenter or something like that. But it just so happened that I had no license, so there was nothing else for me to do other than, go to work with my dad. I couldn't get to work any other way. Being out at Picton, it's sort of a bit far out to catch trains anywhere. So we sort of, I literally just fell into it and did 4.5 years. And, it wasn't fun for me. It wasn't something I wanted to do, but it was just the necessary thing that I had to do for 4.5 years. I wanted to get a trade behind me so that I had some sort of backing before I went out and did something else. So it was about 4.5 years in. I pretty much was starting to look for other jobs. I wanted to start another career. So I then went on to JobSeek really and I applied for the trains, went through all their testing. It was about 6 months after that I got in. And then just went through all the process over the next that 2 to 3 years of learning to become a driver. So I was a second person for about 3 years and just learning off the drivers on how to learn the roads and stuff like that before becoming a driver. It was really around that time, I was about 19 when I actually started property investing. I'd already been studying property investing since I was 16. And I knew I was going to buy a house around that sort of 19, 20, but I just needed to save a deposit to be able to do it.
From there, Walsh took every opportunity he could save for the deposit on his first property.
When I was working as an auto electrician, I was on poor money. Obviously, when you start an apprenticeship, everyone knows that it's not that great of money. So I was on about $250 a week when I started. Now, for me to get extra income, what I had to do was pretty much stay back at night. And I used to rebuild alternators and starter motors for my father. And he used to give me $5 each one. So I used to stay back 2 or 3 hours, get 2 or 3 of them done every single night for that little bit more income to be able to save. I used to work Saturdays for him. So I pretty much worked 6 days a week back then just to save. And then when I got to about 19, I wanted to buy a house. So I had to sell my car, went and bought a $1,500, $2,000 bomb. And pretty much put my money into building my first house. It's about a $34,000 deposit, I think it was. I did a 5%. So it was, back then you could do 5% loans, or 5% loans. So I ended up getting 5% together, just sort of got enough money. Even when I was building the property, like I was building the property and I got to the point where I had to put like driveways in and grass and all of that. And I actually ran out of money and I had to go and sell. I was skydiving back then. I had a parachute. It was worth probably about $5,000. I ended up selling it for $3,000 to be able to get enough money to be able to put a driveway in. So that was probably, that was one of the toughest moments of starting property investing. It was extremely tough back then. It was like every week, I lived week to week. I didn't go out. I had to put everything into building this property.
With the influence of his parents, who were experienced in renovating and flipping properties themselves, Walsh was exposed to information about the market at a young age. This was a significant part of his choice to become a property investor.
I was lucky when I was younger. My dad actually used to renovate and flip houses for a little while. And they used to either build house and land packages, renovate and flip. So I kind of grew up around renovating houses. I was out painting fences and stuff when I was a young kid. So I sort of learned young about the housing market, and we're looking at houses every single week. But it wasn't until I started work and I realized that, hey, I don't want to be doing this forever, that I need something to put, to generate wealth for me to be able to one day not have to work. So that was pretty much the moment where I went, I'm going to have to start studying property investment, because I realized at that time that majority of people's wealth when they die is in actually their house. So I figured, well, why not study housing market and study why markets go up and all of that sort of thing. So I actually then, pretty much at the age of 16, literally put all of my time into studying property instead of auto electrician.
Embarking on his first property investing venture at a point when the GFC was about to hit, he took on a property around the area where he lived. After making necessary changes to the place, he knew he had to make the right decision to invest in property.
Back then, pretty much it was really where everyone was scared of buying houses. It was back in around 2010, 2011. And I remember when I was even looking for a house, people were saying I was crazy, the GFC is going to hit, why are you buying a house? And to me, it made sense. It was, hey, this thing's not going to cost me anything to hold. It's going to make me money. Why not? So for me, it was more so about, I knew the area. I knew what it was worth. It was for my first investment was just safer for me to do that, because I knew exactly what that market was doing. And when I seen this land come up, I knew it was quite cheap for the time, and I knew what I could build for and what I could rent it for. So the numbers worked out. I just made sure the numbers worked out. And once they did, I just knew that 100% that I needed that property. Basically, what had happened was I bought the land. The land had been subdivided, and I bought the block that was subdivided. So I pretty much then just built an eagle home on it, actually. And I had to just obviously do the finishes and stuff like fences and some grass and all of that, landscaping. And so I pretty much spent about a good 12 months doing that and getting that first property sort of up and running, and then getting a renter in there. It was probably that moment where I had that sort of light bulb moment where I was actually making $100 a week positive income. So for me, that was that moment where, hey, I was earning $250 a week, and now I'm earning $100 a week from something I'm not even having to go to work for. So that was where I really clicked into gear and was like, I need to do more of this. This one was actually literally around the corner from where I lived. So this was in Picton. Yeah. So I think it was getting about a 7.5% yield back then. The whole thing cost me all up was $345,000. That was house and land. Yeah, which I just got to actually revalue, because I'm now going to get some money out to go again on another house, and the bank's valued at $650,000.
After purchasing his first property in Picton, Walsh chose to repeat what he had done and apply it to his second property. However, for some time after that, he found that he could go no further and focus his attention on studying more about property investing.
Yeah, well, I actually bought one like 3 doors up from that other one. I bought an established house, though. This time it was a mortgagee sale. So the guy had actually purchased it 3 years before me for $310,000. I bought it off him for $303,000. So that guy had actually lost money over 3 years. And I pretty much, when I bought that, it had to be fully renovated. So I spent all my nights really in there renovating that property and patching all the holes up and sort of painting it, doing all that sort of stuff. And then, I pretty much got renters into that one. It was the same story. It was like a 7.5% yield. It was giving me money each week. And so that was pretty much the same thing. I just literally rinse and repeat what I did the first time. Yeah, from there, I actually, for about a year and a half, I didn't actually do anything. I had run out of money by that time. The Sydney market started to go up, and for me, it became unaffordable. I couldn't buy those houses in the 300,000s anymore. So what I did was I pretty much, for about a year and a half, took a break. And I went and studied for that time. So I wanted to learn how to buy interstate properties, how to build a team around me. So I went and did that over that year and a half and seeked out some mentors. And pretty much from there, that's when I started really building everything. And I then started purchasing in Queensland, so in Brisbane. And I purchased in 2014, I purchased 3 properties there. At the moment, I've got 7 properties and a block of land. 3 in Brisbane. I've got a block of land and a house in Carrum Downs in Victoria. And I've got 1 in South Australia as well.
He explains that diversifying into different states was about accessing different growth drivers and not placing all his eggs into one basket.
After I bought my second house, I mean, obviously I'd done a lot of study and I'd realized at that time that I didn't want to put another one there for the reason that if you put all your eggs in that one basket, yes, things were going up at that time, but if something was to ever happen to Sydney market, well, I would be then forced to lose a lot more than what I would if I only had one or two properties in there. So for me, it was all about going into different states and accessing different growth drivers so that at any one point, when one market stops growing, another market starts growing. So I wanted to access that. So my whole entire portfolio was like really well balanced.
Walsh admits that being unable to move forward in the aftermath of buying his second property was the most disheartening part in his journey to become a property investor. However, he was able to overcome this through seeking help from mentors.
So I bought my second property and I went back to the banks and I wanted to buy a third one, and the banks literally denied me and said, "You've got too much debt now." You know, I was carrying $600,000 worth of debt. I wasn't earning very much, so I couldn't go forward. So for me, it was sort of a setback. You know, I was like, what am I going to do from here? This is what I want to, achieve a portfolio of maybe 10 properties, and I couldn't do it. I stopped at 2. So for me, it was that moment where I had to go out and seek mentors to really overcome the barrier that I had in front of me. So I literally did that. I went out, sought mentors, and I learned over the year and a half how to get around it. And then from there on, I ended up getting around that sort of obstacle and building from like 2 properties now to nearly 8 properties. So.
Through this mentorship, he learned about where he went wrong and how to rectify the issue before beginning to uncover more about how to grow his portfolio.
When I started, I started learning from my mortgage broker mainly on that side of the finance side of it. So for me, my mortgage broker realized that my first 2 loans were cross collateralized, which was why I was stopped. So I ended up having to uncross those loans, and my broker then went out and found pretty much another bank for me to go to. I was all with one bank. So then I started learning that you had to spread all your loans and your mortgages over different lenders to be able to borrow more money and to be able to access, different banks at different times. So you can go back and refinance one house or another house with the different banks, get more money out and go again. So it was probably my mortgage broker mainly where I started about 6 years with him. 6 years ago, I started with him. He was probably the biggest influence on me and growing my portfolio. He had 19 properties at the time. So I knew that he was somebody that I wanted to work with. So I pretty much worked with him very closely and learnt off him exactly what he did to be able to grow that portfolio even larger. Yeah, it's Mark Salmon. His name is Performance Mortgages. He runs, and I still work with him. He actually is a part of now my business, and he does all of our finance for our clients. So he's extremely in touch with what's happening. He knows what's going on with the market, and he's really good at advising clients on where to go and what to do and how to build that larger portfolio.
Walsh says it's vital to find a mortgage broker with investment experience, as they'll be more likely to think about the long-term goals.
One of those things, like with a mortgage broker, I think to contribute to success, they're like 60 to 70% to contribute to a successful portfolio, because they're the ones that are going to allow you to go out and buy those properties. So if you have a mortgage broker that doesn't understand your goals, they're not going to be able to think forward 5 years ahead. So with me and Mark, we were very good at strategizing what was going to happen in the next 5 years and being able to sort of work to a plan and being able to establish where we have to go, what banks we have to go to be able to build that larger portfolio. Whereas a lot of brokers that don't have investment background, they're just thinking about the next deal. They're not thinking about 3 or 4 deals ahead.
As you mentioned earlier, Walsh thinks back to the time where everything fell into place for him when he bought his first property.
Pretty much that time where I, bought that first one and it was making me money, and I thought to myself at that time, okay, if I've done this once, why can't I replicate this 10 times over? So at the start of it was pretty much my theory behind everything was, and I still use this today, is if I had bought one property and paid it off over 30 years, well then after that 30 years I'll own the property, but I can't retire or anything like that. But then if I had bought the property next door, which is pretty much what I did, and those properties doubled in value, I could eventually sell one to own the other one, and I'd be able to do that in probably a 7 to 10 year period. So I figured, well, if I can own one house in a 7 to 10 year period, why not replicate that by 10 houses and then eventually sell down 5 and own 5? If I can do that, I can do, much more. So it was sort of that theory behind sort of a different way of thinking from what my mum and dad and, everyone else's mum and dads, tell their kids of go in, get a mortgage, pay that over 30 years. My way of thinking was go get as much debt as possible, wait for that to double, sell down half of it, and you'll own half of it. You'll be able to do that in half the time.
Hey, let's be real. Deals that can yield 20 to 30% per annum do exist. Don't believe me? Well, here's a story about property development I invested in Victoria. This developer had the project fully funded beforehand, but he and his family suffered a loss, a circumstance that led him to be unable to proceed with the development. So I stepped in, and in 2 weeks we funded the shortfall, allowing for the development to continue. 5 months later, the development was refinanced and we received our funds back with interest. Yes, there are amazing opportunities in the property market like this one. So, do you want to get a better return with low risk on your money? Then register your interest by visiting propertyinvestory.com. Many property investors are aware of the challenge of saving for that first deposit. For Walsh, beginning his property journey at such a young age also made it difficult.
What actually held me back was after I bought my second property, going into my third one and having to go interstate. That held me back because I had to then learn how to build a team around me to be able to buy interstate properties. So that was probably the one thing that held me back from progressing my property investing portfolio quicker. And at the start, the only thing holding me back, it took me 4 years to be able to save for the first deposit. Coming from, a 16-year-old kid out of school, I obviously had no money behind me. So I had to be able to save that initial deposit. And in the early days, I always say to people, like, with me, my early days were a struggle, getting 1 to 2 properties took me years. And it was, it took me 4 years just to get the first deposit to be able to build my first house. So to be able to sign mortgage documents in that at 18. So for me, I did my first one at 19. So I had just scraped over that barrel and pretty much to be able to sign a contract. But yeah, for me, it was sort of, I knew that I wouldn't be able to buy anything before 18 anyway, because I just didn't have the money. Even though I wanted to, there was just, I wouldn't have been able to do it. So I had to really educate myself, and it was good to take that 4 years of educating myself before doing it.
So while his friends were out buying cars, he was thinking 10 steps ahead.
It was one of those moments for me where I went and bought a house and I had money sitting there, it was 35 grand. Back then, I know a lot of people, friends and stuff like that at that age were buying brand new cars. So they were going out and financing a new car or buying a new car, and I was going out and buying a house. So for me, it was almost a bit of a struggle within myself. Like I wished at that time I could go out and buy a brand new car and drive a new car, but I didn't. I sort of turned around and said, okay, I've got a decade to be able to achieve my goals. I'm going to have to do this now and sacrifice buying the luxuries so that one day, I can achieve that wealth to be able to go buy the luxuries and not have to worry about the money side of it.
Now he's able to help his less experienced friends with their own property investing journeys.
Talk about property so much today, I think they have to be interested in it. I try to keep my friends in a smaller group. I don't want to have heaps and heaps of friends, because for me, I just don't have the time to be able to message everyone and talk to everyone. So for me, I just have a small friend group, and I think that that's the best way to do it, to keep close touch with those people. And yeah, they pretty much were on board with it. I had actually one of the guys has got 3 properties, which is one of my best mates, and I've helped him buy the last 2 properties. So yeah, a lot of them have been on board with it. They may have taken a few more years later, and a lot of them, turn around and say, geez, I wish I had done this earlier, when you did it. But it's better now than never. They're still young. So
his own goals for the future are to be able to do what he enjoys.
Ideally, when I started all this, it was like, hey, I want to be so wealthy that I don't have to do anything and I can go on holidays all the time. But it's sort of not my DNA. My DNA and my makeup is really work hard. I just keep working and working and working. So for me, it wouldn't be more so about going to work and doing things I don't like doing anymore. It'd be more so doing things that I actually enjoy, rather, helping people invest and stuff like that. So that's sort of where I want to take things. I think that also, like, when you build wealth, what happens is your priorities change from having to make money to really buying back time. So instead of being, chasing the dollar, you're now buying back your time, and the time is probably more valuable than the dollar.
In terms of mindset, Walsh maintains a consistent attitude towards property investing, which has helped him to remain focused on his goals.
My mindset's always probably been the same. I've been very focused in my goals. I write my goals down. I have plans, for 10 years of what I want to do, and I update them each year. And I don't think anything's really changed. It's just stay focused and consistent. And I think, you're going to have setbacks throughout property investing. Property investing is extremely hard, and a lot of people, they can't get through the process of property investing long term. They go through it for a year or two and they give it away. So for me, it was being consistent and focused. So writing those down and the goals down, it sort of held me accountable to what I had to achieve. So for me, it was sort of, nothing's really changed. It's just more being able to be focused and stay focused.
Being able to reflect on his business plans for the future has allowed him to see things more clearly.
My life's so busy, so sometimes it gets a little bit hard for me to reflect on what I've done, what I've achieved, and what I sort of want to do next. So for me, it was sort of one of those things that I wanted to get away, no technology, and just to sort of sit down and write down my goals and write down new goals for what I want to achieve, because each year those goals change. So for me, it was sort of my business. So I want to start helping other people invest and sort of build their portfolios up. So for me, it was just going away, reflecting on what I've achieved, and then sort of delving into what I really want to do, and having a clear sort of vision on what I'm going to do in the next 5 to 10 years. I'm not sure if I'll leave train driving altogether. I might even do part-time or casual and just drive trains when I want to drive trains. But being able to have, the decision to be able to say, hey, now I get to have a choice of, do I want to do this part-time or casual, or do I just want to give it up, is sort of was my whole goal at the start. So for me, if I will do my buyer's agents probably full-time, and I want to build that business up to the point where I have, a few employees helping me out. But I don't know yet. I don't know whether I would give up trains or not. I actually enjoy the job. So for me, it's sort of one of those things at the moment. I think I'll do a bit of both, and I'll do that for as long as I can. But yeah, once I build up that business a little bit more, I probably naturally will just start to go into that and put more time into my buyer's agency.
Discussing mentors who have aided him with his property investing dilemmas, Walsh connected with many people in order to glean information that he could apply to his own strategy.
Over the years, I had obviously connected with people that were like-minded, that were property investors themselves. Some of them had one property, some of them had 30 properties, so I think you can learn from anyone. So it's not one of those things where you've got to seek out somebody that's got $5 million or got $3 million. It's talking to everyone that's in your field and what you want to do, and sort of taking little bits from everyone and being able to put that into your own strategy and work out, what you want to keep of that information and what you don't want to keep of that information. So for me, I did have people like Chris Gray and Margaret Lomas where I religiously watched them on TV. I reached out to them and sent them some messages and sort of connected with those two as well to be able to answer some of my questions and clarify some of those questions that I had back, 4 or 5 years ago. So for me, it's just connect with everybody and make sure that, you do you as well. You've got to do your own style, your own strategy, but sort of learn from others as you go. And these days, like when you look at it these days, we have social medias, we have LinkedIn, we have YouTube. There's no reason why you can't connect with someone. And we're not 15, 20 years ago where you only knew your own neighborhood. Now you can connect with anyone in the world. And I think there's not enough people that are doing that. And the people that are doing that are the ones that are going to become successful.
The most inspiring advice Walsh has received throughout his journey is to generate passive wealth and to become successful through associating with successful people.
So one of them was sort of, I've actually got it all over my business now. It's called Make Money While You Sleep. And it's one of those things, you want to be able to make money while you sleep and not have to go to work and put your time into be able to make money. So you want to free up your own time and make money while you sleep, which is why I started property investing. So that's probably one of the things that I got taught at an early age and really helped me out. So that was one thing. The other thing is you're the average of your best 5 friends. So whoever you keep around you is pretty much who you're going to become. So if you hang around with 5 successful people, you'll become successful. If you hang around with 5 people that do drugs, you're probably going to do drugs.
Becoming involved in property investing from a young age, Walsh's strategy of being able to buy and hold is still an effective one.
A lot of my strategies buy and hold. I'm quite young, so being 26 years old, I've realised that building a larger asset base and accessing compounding interest over the next 20 to 30 years, I mean, I couldn't flip properties and be able to make as much money as I could by just buying and holding that asset. So for me, it was, mine's about buying and holding. I mean, in the future, I might change and sell a couple down just to create more cash flow. But at the moment, it's about holding as larger asset base as I can for a couple of cycles. And those couple of cycles with rent rises and that, I probably won't have to sell down any of my portfolio.
Being able to ask the right questions when researching a potential area to invest in is something that Walsh uses to his advantage in his property investing strategy.
Over the last 6 or 7 years, I've sort of gained more knowledge of what I'm looking for in a property and what I'm looking for mostly in an area. So I think where people overlook is, doing the research on the area as a whole and the council. Is this council progressive? Is the population growth in that area going to be strong? Infrastructure, is it coming to the area? What sort of resources are in that area? What sort of jobs are coming to that area? So for me, I do the same thing every time. I research an area and I go through the same steps every single time to identify what that next up and coming hotspot's going to be before people even start talking about it, before people even see it happen. I want to be able to figure out why it's going to happen. And I think that's really been the key to sort of growing my portfolio, being able to get into markets before other people, being able to get into them without competition, and just being able to do the correct research. So I'd say to everyone, you got to go through the same process every single time and research the area and the council and make sure that it's a really progressive council and your population grows really high, and all of the fundamentals is what sort of drives a market. It's all about supply and demand.
When sourcing properties, he advises against connecting with real estate agents.
It depends on what I'm doing at the time, but if I wanted to obviously seek out somebody or if I wanted to know a bit more about the area, I wouldn't go to a sales agent because they're trying to sell me something. I'd go to the property management side because they know about the area, but they're not trying to sell you anything. So I would actually interview, half a dozen property managers and I'd go through the same thing, a select lot of questions that I ask them, and just to find out about the area and find out about, the local side of it, because you can do as much research as you want, but you got to get on the ground and know, the local side of that sort of market.
When considering buying interstate, Walsh has an effective method for ensuring that it's the right property to buy in that area when he's not familiar with the area himself.
Yeah, I don't go in there very often. For me, I fly over once I identify an area. I want to drive around it. I want to know the best pockets of that area. And I don't tend to fly in and out as much because once I've done the research and I've done everything, I know what I'm doing. I build a team around that area. So then I have people that do everything for me. So for me, it's I don't have to go look at the property because I have professionals looking at that property, and they're looking at it if it's structurally sound. They're looking at what it's going to rent for. Is it in the right location, for people to rent it? And so they look at all of that for me. No matter what, you can identify an area, but you're not a local. You haven't been there for 20 years. You do not know that market, even if you drive around it every single day for the next week, you still don't know that market as well as somebody that lives there and has lived there for a decade. So I sought those people out, and they're the people that are on my team, and they're the people that help me buy in those areas.
To build teams that he could rely on requires skill, and Walsh shares how he did it.
That came from generally my mentors. Like over the time, a lot of these people that had already built portfolios of 30 to 50 properties, they'd already had these sort of things in place. So for me, it was learning from them and being able to implement that myself over the years to be able to do the same. I think, don't reinvent the wheel. It's already going, jump on it. So I sort of seek out people that already were successful and then learn from them. When you're looking to get into property investing, it's very hard to find information and really know how to do it, especially interstate. Not many people know how to go interstate, so seeking out somebody that knows and has done it before definitely limits your risk. Whereas if you go in there by yourself, I mean, you're spending $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 in a market, and you don't want to, you don't want to mess that up. So go to somebody that knows what they're doing, learn from them, and they'll teach you how to do that.
Walsh says that having sufficient time to study his intended markets before he began was an essential part of implementing his strategy.
From the very first purchase that I did, I'd already studied a year and a half. I had a year and a half break from buying in New South Wales, and I spent all my time into studying interstate markets and also studying how to build a team around me and building that team around me before I even bought in these areas. So yeah, it took me, over that sort of couple of years, I've sort of refined those skills to be able to build them a lot quicker and sort of, know what I'm doing when I go into a new market. And once you've done the correct research, it's just all about building your team around it.
In choosing the best members of his interstate teams, he looks for those who will take the time to communicate with him and actively search for potential properties in his absence.
A lot of the time, I even get property managers to go look at areas and everything for me. A lot of the time when you seek out a property manager, you know straight away from the feel of talking to that property manager, are they willing to help you or they don't have enough time. So for me, I seek out the ones that have the time, that will talk to me for an hour on the phone, that will go out and look at properties for me. They're the ones that I want to seek because they're the ones that will look after my property better. They've given time back to their client, and they know that if they keep me happy, they're going to keep other people happy as well. So I might refer when somebody else wants to buy a house in Queensland, I'll refer them onto my property managers. So if you're a property manager and you just don't have the time to do that, well, then you're going to lose a lot more referrals in the future. So I think a lot of property managers realize that, and they take the time out to be able to educate us.
As Walsh mentioned earlier, writing down his goals has been a key contributor to attaining success in property investing, as it reminds him of his motives in bad times.
Writing everything down and sort of writing my goals. So holding myself accountable to everything is, if you don't write it down, you won't hold yourself accountable because you'll forget over the next 6 months what you were trying to achieve. So I write down yearly goals that I have to achieve and 2-year goals. So for me, just staying laser focused and writing those goals down were probably one of my biggest habits to be able to create the success that I have. Especially when you're going through those hard times, property investing is one of those things you're going to get multiple setbacks. It's never going to run easy. You're going to get banks that tell you no, you're not going to be able to, borrow more. You're not going to be able to find a house sometimes that you want to find, or you're going to lose that house. So when you go through those struggles, it's key to be able to read over just why you're doing it. You've got to have a why. So if you know why you're doing it, well, then you stay strong through those struggles and you end up overcoming them.
He also shares some valuable books which he would recommend to those on their own path to creating wealth via property investing.
Probably the first book that I read, or one of the first, was Rich Dad Poor Dad. So I know a lot of people have heard about it, but if you haven't, go out and get that book, and it will literally change your mindset on money and change your mindset on debt. What's bad debt, what's good debt, how to carry debt. So that was probably one of my go-to books. Another one would be Chris Bray's book. He's pretty much delves on the same sort of thing. And so I like his book, and also any of Margaret Lamas's books.
Sometimes you just wish you had done things differently. So if Walsh met himself 10 years ago, what would he say?
I'd say to him, just work harder and sort of buy when you can. I probably made the mistake back then of taking that 1.5 year break where I could have been buying more. But it's one of those things you can't sort of look back. You've got to just sort of keep looking forward into what's coming next, because if you're always looking back, you can't go forward.
Yeah, definitely. That's really good advice. And when you look back at it, that would be 16 years old.
Yeah. Back then I was probably playing video games or something.
Walsh shares what he's most excited for in his property investing journey.
I think just sort of building that wealth now to the cash flow side of it, sort of building up enough cash flow to be able to sustain my lifestyle is probably what I'm really excited about. So then I can go out and do the things that I really like every day, which is helping other people. So that's probably what I'm trying to do. And then also just helping other people. So helping other people invest and build their portfolios and sort of educate them on finance and all that sort of thing. Sort of, if you do that, for me, it's like giving back to what I remember when I was younger, I was trying to, I got told no a lot of the time. I would be reaching out to these people, and a lot of these people just wouldn't give me the time of day. So having somebody that will actually educate you and answer your questions via email or messenger or Facebook Messenger or something like that, it really, I know it helped me a lot when anybody just wrote back to me and said, hey, this is what I've done, and then they get to implement themselves. So for me, it's just giving back to those people that are really trying to learn.
If you'd like more information on how Walsh can help you through his buyer's agency, or would like to connect with him, you can do so through...
My buyer's agency is Your Property or Wealth. So you can either email me at admin@ypyw.com.au, or you can just type it in and you'll find me on Instagram. I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube. So yeah, go to any of those platforms and type it in, you'll find me.
Thank you to Daniel Walsh, our guest on the episode Property Investory. If you want to hear more about his journey, then visit our website at propertyinvestory.com. Simply type in the search bar Daniel Walsh and select that episode to learn more about his story. If you love the show, perhaps you're now ready to invest your money in a low-risk, high-return deal. If you are, then SMS me your name and email address on 04 99 88 10 40 to become a lender. There are amazing opportunities in the property market right now, and I'm looking for lenders who want to invest their money for as short as 6 months. What are you waiting for? Don't let your money just sit in the bank. To register your interest, text me your name and email address on 04 99 88 10 40.